The man is the top spirit master in LT City. He was ambushed by two ghosts while carrying out the mission. In the end, he was killed in an ambush. Upon hearing the news of Bruce's death, Police Chief Jose suddenly stood up, completely losing his composure. Beforehand, both Bruce and Joseph were investigating the whereabouts of the ghost, and the deputy squad leader found the ghost's head in the abandoned building, but did not tell the captain, because he was confident that he could take down the ghost by himself. And indeed, he succeeded. Unexpectedly, there was another ghost hiding there. Bruce was preparing for a fatal blow. He was unexpectedly ambushed by the ghost hiding in the dark. Bruce, severely injured, was no match for the two ghosts. In the end, Here. Jose instantly exploded in anger. What are your intelligence team doing? How can you not even know that there was a ghost hidden there? The staff panicked. They had carefully inspected during the citywide investigation conducted by the intelligence department earlier. It's true that the ghost was not found. It seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. Jose suppressed the anger in his heart. Where is Captain Joseph? The staff member's face turned pale. Joseph is already on his way. Jose frowned. As the director of the investigation bureau, he must not let his anger affect his judgment at this critical moment. Otherwise, the entire LT City will suffer. Then he ordered, "You take Hugh to rest first. Sarah will come to the meeting room with me later." Hugh slowly got up. The current investigation bureau can't help themselves either. He couldn't demonstrate the ability to foresee the future. He might as well go out with the staff. Shortly after heading out, Hugh heard the command Jose roared out. "Prepare the vehicle quickly. Have all the investigators go out to find me. Notify the private spirit master organization. Ask them to send people to help. The investigation bureau is willing to provide 3,000 spirit coins and 10 spirit incense." Hearing about spirit coins and spirit incense, Hugh's heart moved. He had heard of these two things on the forum, but he had never seen them in person. They were developed by the investigation bureau headquarters. Spirit coin is the main currency circulating among spirit masters. However, it can also be used to create weapons and armor. More precisely, spirit coin is a type of spiritual material, a specially made spiritual steel. Spirit incense can suppress spiritual pollution, alleviate the loss of control of spirituality in spirit masters. It is a very precious resource for cultivation. In the lounge, the staff is in a state of panic and unease. There are also many staff members outside rushing around busily. Bruce's death has thrown the entire investigation bureau into chaos. While Hugh calmly drinks his tea, he is actually calculating how to use this information to his advantage. Then he went to the glass door and pulled the curtains closed. At this time, Wayne finally reacted. "Hugh, what's wrong with you?" Hugh delivered a fierce chop to his neck. Wayne instantly lost consciousness and fainted. Then Hugh quickly took off his work clothes. After changing into it himself, he left the lounge. He planned to disguise himself as a staff member to gather more useful information. Hugh activated his spirituality to enhance his senses. He listened carefully to the sounds around him. Bruce is so powerful. I didn't expect him to die like this. It's all Joseph's fault for not going together. Otherwise, how could they have been ambushed? I heard that Bruce and Joseph had a conflict. Bruce lost in the captaincy competition and couldn't accept it. But Bruce is known as the unbeatable one in the second stage. But Joseph's lucky ability made Bruce not dare to use his full strength on the day of the competition because he had a stomach ache. In the end, Joseph successfully became the team captain due to his stroke of luck. Hugh heard this and stopped there. It's all gossip with no practical information. Just then, a staff member shouted, "Quick, go to the meeting room. Joseph is back. Jose is calling for an emergency meeting." Hugh blended into the crowd and followed everyone into the meeting room. It should be possible to gather a lot of useful information at the emergency meeting. In the meeting room, the long conference table was filled with people on both sides. There were also a dozen staff members standing on the outside. Sitting at the head of the table was the serious and focused Jose. Smoke was swirling around him. Hugh couldn't help but be surprised. He was amazed that someone dared to smoke during such an urgent meeting. Following the smoke, Hugh looked towards the corner behind Jose, where a lonely middle-aged man squatted, smoking feverishly. He kept whispering Bruce under his breath. Hugh guessed. Dared to smoke at this occasion. It seems that he is the captain, Joseph. Watching Joseph's melancholic look, their relationship with Bruce isn't as bad as the rumors, right? At this moment, Chief Jose's voice sounded. This ghost has the code name Shadow Ghost. In this battle between Bruce and the Skull Ghost, they did not notice the presence of Shadow Ghost and were ambushed. Even though his speed was fast, he couldn't shake off the shadow chasing closely behind him. He was accidentally attacked by Shadow Ghost, which resulted in serious injuries. He eventually died at the hands of Headless Ghost. Captain Joseph has already taken care of the Headless Ghost. However, after the sudden attack by Shadow Ghost, its whereabouts are unknown. So the top priority is to search intensively for the Shadow Ghost and seek revenge for Bruce. Jose suppresses his inner sadness. However, there is some good news in this bizarre, unfortunate incident. Our Captain Joseph has successfully advanced to the 3rd stage Spirit Master. He has entered the ranks of top Spirit Masters. As soon as these words were spoken, there was an uproar among the people present. There are only a few 3rd stage Spirit Masters in the whole country. At this moment, Joseph in the corner seems as if he hasn't heard anything. He opened the cigarette case and wanted to continue smoking a few more. As a result, he found it empty. He finished a pack of cigarettes in less than 2.5 minutes. He looked at everyone with a lackluster expression and a slightly hoarse voice. "Do any of you have cigarettes?" Jose couldn't bear it in his heart, but still rebuked. "Joseph, you are now a 3rd stage Spirit Master. You will still be needed to protect LT City in the future. Pull yourself together." Joseph seemed to not have heard the reprimand. He still looked half dead. He turned and walked towards the door. "Then I'll go out and buy a pack myself." Jose gritted his teeth. He didn't want to lose Bruce at the same time, but seeing Joseph giving up on himself made him so angry that he shouted, "Stop right there! Don't you want to avenge Bruce?" When Bruce was mentioned, Joseph was momentarily stunned. Revenge? Will revenge bring Bruce back to life? Jose is helpless. He also regrets Bruce's death in battle. But now that things have come to this, he took a pack of cigarettes out of his pocket and threw it over. "I have cigarettes here." Joseph reached out to catch it. "You have cigarettes. Why didn't you say so earlier?" He immediately squatted down. He didn't forget to comment, "Wow, Joseph, what kind of family are you from? You smoke such expensive cigarettes every day." Just then, the door of the meeting room was suddenly opened. After enduring for half a day, Jose suddenly exploded in anger. He yelled towards the doorway, "How many times have I said it? Pay attention to discipline. Discipline." Wayne, who was crying bitterly, panicked and said, "Jose, something terrible happened. The person you just asked me to take to the break room knocked me unconscious and ran away. He even stole my work uniform." Jose was instantly filled with shock and anger. "What? You're saying Hugh ran away? Everyone, be on high alert. Find him and bring him to me." Hugh in the crowd covered his face to avoid being seen. He sighed, realizing that his skills were not professional enough. He had not expected him to wake up so quickly. Just then, a furious female voice sounded. "You're actually here." Sarah suddenly stood up and glared angrily at Hugh. The staff present immediately reacted, pulling out their guns one after another. At that moment, all eyes were focused on Hugh. It seemed that any movement from him would immediately result in being shot. The man was only wearing work clothes. The next second, he was surrounded by Investigation Bureau personnel with guns. But he was not afraid at all. Instead, he walked slowly up to the 3rd stage Spirit Master. He asked calmly, "Do you want Bruce to be resurrected?" Just as the words fell, A terrifying pressure swept through the meeting room. Joseph's face turned dark as he said, "Kid, no matter who you are, don't make jokes about the deceased lightly. Otherwise, people will die." The sudden pressure made his body unable to move. Hugh was secretly shocked. Is this the strength of a third-stage spirit master? But he still remained composed. "Just answer me whether you want to or not." The staff present were stunned for a moment. Without any orders, they didn't dare to come forward. Only Jose angrily accused Hugh. At one moment, he claimed to predict the future. At another moment, he claimed to resurrect the dead. "Quickly, seize him for me." Just as the staff were about to take action, Joseph raised his hand to stop them. He stared wearily at Hugh. "Can you really save Bruce?" Joseph felt like he was going crazy. The ironclad rule that the dead cannot be brought back to life has remained unchanged throughout history. Not to mention that Bruce's body has been eaten. What possibility of resurrection is there? Hugh continued to ask, "Where were you when Bruce died? Were you far away from him?" Joseph buried his head to hide his grief. "At that time, due to incomplete clues, I was in the nearby suburb. If I could have arrived in town earlier, then he wouldn't have died." Hugh continued, "Great. Give me your phone number. And tell me one of your secrets." Joseph was stunned. "Phone number? Aren't we talking about resurrecting Bruce?" However, Hugh just said lightly, "I can't bring the dead back to life." As soon as the words fell, Joseph, feeling toyed with, was about to explode in anger. Unexpectedly, Hugh continued, saying another sentence. "But I can go back in time. Reverse the situation of Bruce being killed." Hearing these words, everyone present was shocked. They all questioned what Hugh said. This is more exaggerated than resurrecting the dead. Even novels wouldn't dare to write such a thing. Joseph questioned, "You're not a spirit master at all. You're a god master, right?" At this moment, a storm raged in Sarah's heart. Only she had unwavering faith in Hugh's words. She recalled what Hugh had said in the office before. It turned out he was not showing off. Rather, he was expressing his abilities in a different way, going back to the past to change the future. Hugh explained, "I will go back to before the accident happened and call you to save him. So, I need a secret that will make you believe me." Joseph looked at him with a skeptical expression. Hugh continued to persuade. Joseph has nothing to lose by giving it a try. Joseph was immediately persuaded. Slowly, he set out his own phone number. As for the secret, it's before the election of the team captain. It's not that Bruce ate something wrong. It's that I secretly gave him a laxative. But my ability is luck. So no one has ever doubted me. The whole venue fell silent instantly. Everyone stared at Joseph in disbelief. It's as if they were meeting him for the first time. They never expected Joseph to do such a thing. Only director Jose angrily reprimanded him. "I never expected you, kid, to play such dirty tricks." Joseph looked desolate again. "Let's forget it. It's useless to speak when people are already dead." Hugh suddenly spoke. "This secret is enough. Just wait for the phone call." After saying this, Joseph's throat tightened. He believed in Hugh's words wholeheartedly, as if they could revive Bruce at any moment. Then the scene suddenly quieted down. Everyone dared not make a sound. They silently watched Hugh. Time passed by second by second. Everyone seemed to be waiting for something. But nothing happened for a long time. Hugh suddenly spoke up. "Why are you all staring at me? Let's continue the meeting." Joseph couldn't help but ask, "Aren't you supposed to go back to the past? We are waiting for you to act." Hugh's lips curled up slightly. "When did I say I wanted to go back now?" Joseph, who felt like he was being played, was about to explode. But he was stopped by Jose nearby. "All right, Joseph, take this crazy babbling lunatic to the confinement room," Jose commanded. Joseph saw Jose giving him a sign. He immediately understood. He said to Hugh, "Come with me for a while." Shortly after, the two of them arrived at the confinement room. Joseph explained the reason for coming here. Just now, Jose had some concerns, which is why he asked me to bring you here. Don't think too much. After all, the hope of resurrecting Bruce all rests on him. We can't offend him for the time being, whether it's true or false. Hugh expresses his understanding. Why don't you talk about the ghost of mankind and the shadow ghost, as well as the information about Bruce, the deputy team leader? Joseph lit a cigarette. Then he said slowly, Bruce's ability is speed. He has an unimaginable speed advantage, far exceeding others at the same level. Just this time, he was restricted by intelligence and suffered severe injuries from a surprise attack. Joseph detailed the events of this incident. It took about 2.5 hours. The door of the cell was suddenly pushed open. Sarah, holding a lottery ticket, angrily exclaimed, Hugh, not a single one of the numbers you wrote down has won. She then threw the numbers at Hugh. Check them yourself. Upon hearing this, Joseph couldn't help but put out his cigarette. He glared angrily at Hugh. I warned you. Joking about the dead will get you killed. But Hugh ignored him and carefully noted down the numbers on his hand. Is this tonight's lottery result? Sarah coldly chuckled. Didn't you say earlier that if you guessed wrong, you'd pay with your life? I'd like to see that. However, before she could finish her sentence, Hugh directly pulled out a surgical knife from his pocket. He pointed straight at his own forehead. With a slight smile, he said, Don't worry. I'll do as I promised. The next second, the scalpel went straight into his own forehead. Then, let's meet in the morning. Hugh fell down under the shocked gaze of the three of them. A person who is truthful, trustworthy, and decisive. They have never seen anyone like him in their lifetime. The man simply wrote down a few numbers casually. He said that these are the lottery numbers for tonight. He even boasted that he could win 220 million. But by nightfall, Sarah found that she didn't match a single number. To confirm his precognitive abilities, Hugh calmly pulled out a sharp surgical knife. He stabbed himself in the head and killed himself. Then Hugh lost consciousness. After being reborn, he followed Sarah. The two of them arrived at the investigation bureau. This time loop, he completely repeated what he did last time, to avoid causing the butterfly effect. Coming here again, Hugh smiled slightly in his heart. It's time to show true foresight of the future. 3 people entered the main body of the investigation bureau. Hugh stopped in his tracks. He said casually, There will be a male staff member answering a phone call around the corner ahead. Just then, a male staff member suddenly appeared ahead, coincidentally with a phone ringing. As the staff member approached, Sarah and the others were very surprised. Someone really answered the phone. Brian didn't react immediately. Subconsciously, he asked, Did he predict all this just now? And Hugh seemed to be back home. He came to an office area as if he were on familiar ground. He said lightly, A man will stretch in a moment. He will bump into a female employee. The next second, accompanied by a scream, the female employee holding a water cup was knocked down. Brian explained incredulously. He seemed like a deity whose words were followed as law. The arrogant Sarah retorted, saying it was just a reasonable speculation. Hugh glanced at the 2 people standing still in surprise. Let's go. The lounge is this way. While Sarah and Brian were dumbfounded, Hugh took the lead as if he were the host. He accurately took out green tea and coffee from the drawer, which they usually drink. He carefully brewed coffee for Sarah and made tea for Brian. Looking at the coffee in her hand, both of them appeared confused. As if they were the guests instead. Sarah asked, When did you visit the investigation bureau? However, Hugh just kindly added some sugar to Sarah's coffee. Brian was even more surprised. You even knew that she wanted to add 5 sugars. Hugh poured himself a glass of plain water and said lightly, I have mentioned that my eyes can see the future. And you should go report to Jose. He has some free time right now. The 2 fell into silence once again. If there were doubts before, most of them have been dispelled by now. They believe that Hugh really has the ability to foresee the future. Meanwhile, A white car sped through the outskirts. This is Joseph, who is on a mission outside to find the ghost's whereabouts. Suddenly, the phone rang. Joseph answered without thinking. After all, very few people had his phone number. "Hello, who is this?" Joseph's carefree voice rang out. It was a stark contrast to his demeanor after Bruce's death. Just then, a calm voice came from the phone. "Half an hour later, Bruce will die." Joseph suddenly stepped on the brake. His careless expression immediately turned serious. "Who are you?" "My name is Hugh. I am a person who can predict the future. Currently a guest at the Investigation Bureau. I foresee that Bruce will be killed by a ghost in half an hour. You can still make it to save him now." Joseph replied sternly. "I don't care who you are. Do you know that making jokes recklessly can lead to deaths?" A calm voice was heard on the other end of the phone. "The team captain suspected that you had secretly given Bruce a laxative before the competition, causing him to underperform. However, due to your lucky ability, no one doubted you." Joseph was shocked and blurted out in an instant. "How did you know? I have never told anyone this secret before. Bruce is chasing after the target ghost in the unfinished building. But there is another shadow ghost lurking there. It will ambush Bruce at a critical moment, causing him serious injury. He is ultimately surrounded and killed by the ghosts." After saying that, Hugh hung up the phone. Joseph couldn't calm down in the car for a long time. His face was dark and uncertain. He carefully pondered the previous conversation. Immediately, he quickly turned the steering wheel and made a U-turn. He stepped on the gas pedal wildly, heading towards the location that Hugh mentioned. Although he did not believe in precognition, he preferred to believe there was rather than not, especially when the other party had revealed the secret of the laxative. Inside the lounge, Hugh hung up the phone. The next step is to rely on Joseph to save Bruce. Just then, Sarah walked in holding the lie detector test for spirituality. She looked at Hugh with ill intentions. In front of the lie detector test. "Let's see how long you can keep pretending." Hugh picked up the lie detector test on his own. In Sarah's shocked gaze, he skillfully placed his hand on top. "Ask away." Sarah was stunned for 2.5 seconds. Then she reacted. "The first question. If..." Unexpectedly, Hugh interrupted directly. "I choose one." He then ignored the stunned Sarah. He answered the questions Sarah prepared one after another, and his answers were all perfect. The lie detector has never gone off. After speaking, Hugh stood up. He calmly said to the petrified Sarah, "The test is over. Let's go. We should go see Jose." Sarah unwillingly checked the lie detector. "Is it broken?" The two of them arrived at the director's office. Jose first scrutinized the young man in front of him. "To be honest, Hugh, as a newly promoted spirit master, your abilities far surpass those of others. It's hard for me to believe that you can predict the future." Hugh calmly responded, "Jose, have you ever considered that maybe I am simply on a different level than them?" Upon seeing Hugh acting so pretentiously, Jose restrained himself from the impulse to punch him. "Sarah, he gave me his polluted spirituality test report." Sarah has not yet recovered from the shock just now. She stammered and said, I didn't write the report." Hugh already knew all the questions before they were asked. Moreover, he answered them perfectly. At this moment, Hugh thought he should find a weakness for his ability to foresee the future. Otherwise, it would give the impression that it could be used at will, reducing the bargaining power. He immediately responded, "The cost of foreseeing the future is not high, but it comes with a great price. That is the risk of losing control easily in spirituality and turning toward evil. In order to prevent this situation from happening, I publicly use my precognitive abilities to attract the attention of the Investigation Bureau and join them in order to stabilize my spirituality with spirit incense. This will enable me to use my precognitive abilities frequently." Upon hearing this, Jose became solemn. This reasonable explanation sheds light on Hugh's actions. It turns out his goal was to obtain spirit incense. If I may ask, what salary range would you expect if Hugh invited you to join the investigation bureau? I request to enjoy the salary of a second-stage spirit master. Additionally, an extra piece of spirit incense will be added every month. In addition, an extra fee must be paid if you want to use my abilities. Jose is speechless. If it's confirmed that you can foresee the future, I might agree to your request. But as for the additional fee, I'm afraid not. Hugh interrupted Jose directly. It seems you haven't realized the value of foreseeing the future. But you will soon know. I have prepared a big gift for the investigation bureau. Jose frowned. Have a bad premonition. I wonder what the big gift is. Hugh smiled wickedly. Vice Captain Bruce of the investigation bureau's side. The man simply said, just a little gift for the investigation bureau. He was then pinned to the ground by a top-level spirit master, unable to move. Just because this sentence is too easy to be misunderstood. Jose slammed his hand down on the table. He glared at Hugh with towering rage. Are you threatening me with Bruce's life? However, Hugh remained unfazed. It's not a threat. It's a gift. If you don't believe me, you can call Bruce. Jose did not rush to make the call. Instead, he gave Sarah a wink. Sarah immediately understood and went to Hugh's side, restraining him. Once she realized that something was wrong with the other party, she could immediately subdue him. Just as Jose was about to make a phone call, the office's door was suddenly opened. The series of sudden events made Jose unable to bear it. How many times do I have to say it? Knock on the door before entering. Knock on the door, do you understand? The person who came is none other than Joseph, the captain of the investigation bureau. He asked anxiously. Is there anyone named Hugh in our office? Seeing Joseph Jose made me worry. Why are you back? Aren't you supposed to be chasing after the ghost with Bruce? Joseph is very anxious. Bruce is seriously injured and in the hospital. But that's not important. Where is Hugh? I heard that Bruce was seriously injured. Sarah immediately released 3,000 exotic flames. Hugh, what have you done to Bruce? Hugh looked grave. He unexpectedly suffered serious injuries. Fortunately, his life was spared. He is right here. He just mentioned that he wanted to give a big gift to the investigation bureau. You rushed in to report that Bruce was seriously injured. That is indeed a big gift. Joseph's expression changed 180 degrees. He even raised his thumbs up. Ah yes, indeed a big gift. Sarah was momentarily stunned. She looked at Joseph's gift in disbelief. Joseph rushed over. You're the youngster, Hugh, right? Thanks to you calling ahead this time, I was able to save Bruce in time, otherwise he would have been in real danger. Everything that happened at the scene was exactly as you described. Seeing the scene in front of them, Jose and the others were dumbfounded. What on earth is going on? Hugh smiled faintly. Are you satisfied with the gift I have prepared for you, Jose? And Sarah, accept your exotic flame. I can't handle your enthusiasm. Proud Sarah was so angry that she couldn't speak for a moment. Unexpectedly, Hugh saved the situation with just one phone call. The Life and Time City's first spirit master's reputation is indeed formidable. If Bruce's incident was not man-made, then your abilities do possess extremely high strategic value. I can agree to your request. But we'll have to wait until after the draw before deciding. Sarah, you take Hugh back to the resting room to wait. Joseph, you stay. I have something to ask you. Joseph regained a serious expression and nodded in agreement. He then whispered a sentence in Hugh's ear. I will come find you later. The two people in the lounge were silent. Sarah was very unwilling to be with Hugh, because Hugh not only knows her preferences, even the tattoo in her hidden place has been seen by him. Thinking of this, Sarah blushed. She always felt like a transparent person in front of Hugh. There was no privacy to speak of. And Hugh stared at Sarah without any scruples. He seemed to be plotting something. Her neck turns out to be very white and slender, extremely smooth. There are also two large peaks in front. She's very much like the wife at home. The hand in the pocket couldn't help but fidget. I really want to stab her in the neck with a scalpel. Unfortunately, human blood is warm. Unlike my wife. But does my wife bleed too? If her blood splattered on my body, it would be very refreshing and pleasant, right? 2.5 minutes later, the door to the lounge was pushed open. Joseph cleared his throat. Sarah, can you step out for a moment? I need to talk to Hugh alone. Sarah tugged at her clothes. She had wanted to leave a long time ago. Joseph was curious. A man and a woman alone in a room together. Could it be that they... He quickly sat down in his seat, putting on the appearance of an elder. He asked with a smile, Hugh, you didn't tell anyone else about me drugging Bruce, did you? Hugh found the captain's focus rather strange. Even when facing Director Jose, who has the ability to foresee the future, they were extremely cautious. I didn't expect this to be Joseph's biggest concern. It turns out to be the incident of drugging Bruce. Hugh thought for a moment and said, Currently, no one else besides me knows about it. But in the future, it's hard to say. Joseph suddenly looked nervous. What do you mean by that? My idea is, a silencing fee is needed. Joseph instantly felt depressed. Then he played the emotional card. You must be wanting to join the investigation bureau, right? I am your team leader. I can cover for you in the future. And the investigation bureau is very deep. You are also a newcomer. Hugh interrupted him directly. You don't want the fact that you drug people to be known, right? Joseph was obviously a little anxious. You haven't joined the investigation bureau yet. Believe me or not. 200 spirit coins. I only get 10 spirit coins a month, you go ahead. I'd rather be beaten to death by Bruce. Joseph gives. Don't. Just kidding, Hugh. How about 100? Joseph gives. Joseph quickly agreed. All right, 200. I will give you 200. 2.5 hours later. It's almost time for the lottery draw. Everyone was chatting in the director's office. Only Joseph was squatting sadly in the corner. Sarah, can you lend me some spirit coins? Sarah angrily replied. The captain has 20 spirit coins a month, and I only have 5 spirit coins. Do you want to borrow money from me? After hearing their conversation, Hugh felt he was too hasty. He realized he would have to extort Joseph again in the future. Just at that moment, the computer displayed the lottery results. Today's winning lottery numbers are 0, 1, 12, 17, 18, 26, 27, 05. As one number after another is called out, all eyes were fixed on the numbers. All the numbers matched exactly what Hugh had written down. We won! We won! The numbers match exactly. Joseph suddenly hugged Hugh with excitement. From today on, you are my real brother. Can you help me predict the numbers for the next draw? Jose quickly rebuked. Using your predictive abilities too much can deepen your spirituality and lead to losing control. How could you use it for such trivial matters? The confirmation of Hugh's ability to predict the future is now established. It must be kept absolutely confidential to the outside. Just refer to it as a sensing ability. I am now inviting you to join the investigation bureau. The benefits mentioned before will all be implemented. Hugh nodded in agreement. He is also quite satisfied with this outcome. It wasn't in vain for him to commit suicide once. Joseph suddenly asked, Jose, how do you plan to communicate with those above? Report to the Investigation Bureau headquarters. Recommend listing it in the Global Spirit Master Talent Archives. Relevant information should be included in the top secret files. Hugh. Rated S. Codename, Prophet. Ability. Precognition of the future. Joseph is astonished. Hugh's ability is of extremely high value. Are you not worried that once reported, people will come after him? And why haven't I been included in the Global Spirit Master Talent database? How come he can be listed as an S-level personnel? There must be some shady dealings going on. It is precisely because the strategic value of foreseeing the future is extremely high that one should develop on a higher platform. You going to headquarters is definitely better than staying in LT City. That's right, Hugh. The information shows that you and Dennis are best friends who share life and death. He awakened as a spirit master in the mysterious realm just like you. I think he can also join the investigation bureau. This will not only help strengthen Hugh's relationship with the investigation bureau, but also create a connection for him here after he goes to headquarters. It's a perfect decision to assist with LT City's missions. At this time, Sarah countered. But Jose, his ability is just his performance. Do we still want someone like that? No problem. With the improvement of spirituality, his abilities will also undergo a qualitative change. Let him join, and do no harm to Bally. Hugh didn't care at all about this. He said lightly, As you wish. Hugh's situation has been confirmed. Jose immediately said, Now Hugh is one of us. Joseph, can you talk about the situation where the Shadow Ghost ambushed Bruce? Speaking of the Shadow Ghost, Joseph became serious and earnest. Although there is no evidence, I speculate that it is highly likely to be a human act. When dealing with the Shadow Ghost, even though his whole body was surrounded by shadows like the ghost, it made me feel like I was fighting against a human. If I had not been lucky enough to cut off the head of the humanoid ghost first and break through to the third stage on the spot, I'm afraid I would not have been its match at all. And it seems like the opponent has been holding back all along. The moment they saw me break through, they immediately slipped into the shadows and disappeared. Then Joseph took out a playing card from his pocket. And I also discovered this at the scene. Ace of Spades. This is a playing card made by the Steel of Spirituality. Hugh couldn't help but be curious. Do ghosts use things like this as well? Jose said solemnly. If this was left behind by Shadow Ghost, it indicates that he is very likely a spirit master. And there is also a huge organization behind him. The matter of Shadow Ghost is not simple. We need to plan for the long term. Sarah, please take Hugh to go through the admission process first. After completing the formalities, he returned home. His wife was always around him. Honey, I miss you so much. But Hugh ignored her. He was looking at the investigator's badge in his hand. He finally succeeded in joining the investigation bureau. Now with the resources of the investigation bureau, revenge is even closer. Darling, look forward to it.